This is a battle in the Use It and Lose It tournament between a Serrer and a Granitor. Galatia versus Syracuse. It would be amazing if Syracuse actually got this. Let's see, for Galatia we have Levy Free, Galatian Spears, Galatian Swords, and a Celtic Slinger on the flanks, backed up by Mercenary Cappadocians and a Noble Horse. In the center we have Galatian Legionaries, 4 of those, 2 more Galatian Swords, Cappadocians, Noble Horse, no Javelin Cavalry, that's weird, Celtic Slingers. For Syracuse we have Thureos, Pike, Thureos, Samnites, Thorax, Italian Cavalry, Samnites, Slingers, Thorax, Thorax Swords, Hoplites. I don't see why people would bring Hoplites, Thorax Swords and not bring Thorax Hoplites, because Thorax Hoplites are much superior to both of those units. I'd even say they are in some circumstances better than Samnites. Certainly in terms of armor penetration and damage potential. So just Galatia going extremely wide here, and Syracuse responding, bringing up a massive line of pikes. So Galatia has 3 distinct army groups, one central one and then these on the flanks. Syracuse, in terms of cavalry, they have some mercenary Italian cavalry, medium melee, but they don't really have the offensive capabilities to take Galatia head on here. So anytime you kind of have to create these, just respond to your opponent, it can be difficult, because that puts the pace in the hands of the opponent. Celtic Slingers taking fire from these Slingers, but Slinger on Slinger combat is slow. It's a slow affair. Mercenary Cappadocians and Noble Horse staying well out of range. Celtic Slingers firing here. Firing on the pikes. This is into the unshielded side. Well, they're actually... Are they just firing on the standard Slingers? I think they are. But they're going to hit multiple units here. Not going to do too much damage, but any kind of hit point damage early on is nice. Never underestimate the effect of just... Ooh, this mercenary Italian cavalry is about to get precursored in the face. I don't understand why these Galatian swords are being sent forward. That's not good. They were the perfect target. That's what Levy Freeman are for. The Galatian swords don't take too much damage because these are only medium melee cavalry. But over here, the mercenary Italian cavalry. Look at what happens when they get precursored to death. Just not worth it whatsoever. Syracuse is already losing a lot of the very important cavalry, and for nothing essentially. Sending out the mercenary Samnites here. They are in a very dangerous position. They could get Noble Horsed and followed up by Galatian Swords. It's going to hurt them a lot. Galatian Swords, 28 charge bonus. Very, very dangerous unit on the charge. So here we'll see the engagement. The Samnites are wider. The Galatian Swords are not in wide formation. That is pretty bad for them. But the Samnites are going to do very well against the Galatian Swords there. Syracuse, it's sort of developing into just holding off a few units with the pikes here. And Galatia has completely surrounded Syracuse. The Samnites are going to break through the Galatian Swords, but here the mercenary Samnites get charged in the flank by the Galatian Swords. Galatian Spears being sent in against mercenary Samnites. Probably not the best use for them, but there are these supporting units. These mercenary Samnites are just throwing their precursors into the flanks of the Galatian Legionaries. This is a weird battle. The Galatian Legionaries getting the charge here against the mercenary Samnites. And the Mercenary Samnites are of course going to get slaughtered by Galatian Legionaries, but these Galatian Legionaries losing so many men to Precursors, losing 13 men to Precursors here. And the Galatian swords getting sandwiched by Galatian swords, by Mercenary Samnites warriors. And so far the Galatian cavalry hasn't done much. Fighting here against Mercenary Italians, doing well against Mercenary Italians in the forest. The Thorax swords throw a few volleys down there, killing friend and foe alike. Galatia is losing on the flanks here. The Thorax Hoplites could do well in phalanx in extended combat against Galatian Legionaries, especially when attacking them in the rear. They're certainly going to do well then. These skirmishers are looking very juicy. But sending the Noble Horse in there, I mean, the Noble Horse should probably have charged the Thorax swords, and then the Cappadocians should have gone for these skirmishers. Because the Noble Horse is slower, it's going to take a lot of javelins here, and yeah, this is not what you want to see from a Noble Horse. Because of its high health, it still hasn't dropped, but once it starts seeing combat, this unit is going to drop very quickly due to all the missile fire that it just took. The pikes are not really doing much. So yeah, the Noble Horse, you'll see that they've started to drop relatively quickly, and this is a very expensive unit. Cappadocians fighting Thorax swords in the forest. These mercenary Cappadocians were able to win. Just pull out the Cappadocians, let them go somewhere else. Mercenary Italians running about. The Galatian Legionaries haven't been used. This is the Galatian Legionary that took Precursor damage, by the way, so it's losing men rapidly. The Galatian swords being used well here to throw some javelins into the flanks of these pikemen. Going into square here, I believe, with the Thoreos, or maybe not. Going out of square. Yep, going out of square. Wanting to fire. The Mercenary Cappadocians, 36 kills. This is what I'm talking about with the Noble Horse. It got 116 kills, but 0 experience, so that means it's killed some very low value troops, and because it took so much damage going in, it's essentially been wasted there, instead of just sending in the Cappadocian Cav. But still, it's Galatia against Syracuse, so I guess you can afford being a bit reckless with a few units. Samnites losing against Galatian Legionaries. No shield wall being used. Shield wall is very useful in these situations where you actually want your units to fight fairly concentrated and to not go into these pikes. Now the pikes are going to be able to infiltrate this unit, drop the pikes, and at that point the Galatian Legionaries are going to start dropping by virtue of pike poke. Yep, dropping relatively quickly now. So a very peculiar battle this. Thoreos fighting Levy Free. The Galatian Legionaries in the center just getting surrounded by so many units. Here the Galatian swords about to get these mercenary Samnites off the field. If they can catch them, it looks like they're going to be able to. Yeah, the mercenary Samnites are gone. And the Noble Horse here, they've taken a lot of damage from Thorax and from Slingers, and they haven't really done anything yet. Galatia is losing infantry rapidly. And the cavalry has been mismanaged, so it might... it's very close at this point. Syracuse mainly responding and being opportunistic by attacking isolated units. But losing the Thorax over here to Galatian Spears and Mercenary Cappadocians. And Thoreos Spears in even combat with Levy Free. It looks like they're going to try to pull out. If the Levy Free follow, yeah, the Thoreos, ooh, they're losing a lot of men here. Getting slaughtered by the Levy Free men. That's a bit of unfortunate miss-micro there by the Thoreos. Hoplites against Galatian swords, and the Thorax Hoplites doing well in the center here. The Galatian Legionaries are being pulled out. The Noble Horse is just not being used for anything at this point. It's just running away. But it is baiting the Thorax Swords, so the Thorax Swords are getting charged by Galatian Legionaries. And that's not going to end too well for them. But if Syracuse can clean up these engagements here, things are not horrible. Turn around the pikes. Thoreos are in square, they do not have javelins left, so they're going to get their bracing bonuses now. The Cappadocian, and ooh, the general died. The general of Galatia is actually dead at this point. The general recently died with 26 men remaining. A bit unusual, but I assume that was, yeah, the slingers. 48 kills and experience. That means they've killed some very high value targets. The Galatian spears jogging in, so now morale could be a very real problem for Galatia. Galatia losing a lot of units here due to morale breaking. Galatian legionaries could get attacked in the rear. Yeah, they're getting attacked in the rear, but they are winning, so they're going to be able to stay in the fight. The pikes should do well here against the Galatian spears. It's a good engagement for them. But now the Syracusan slingers are getting charged by the noble horse. It's in turn going to get charged by some Thorax Hoplites. If it has battle rhythm and second wind still available, it might be a very, very important late game unit. So the mercenary Samnites rush in here to support against the Galatian legionaries. The Galatian legionaries are defeating the Thorax swords quite handily, of course. And the Thorax Hoplites using phalanx, but I haven't seen battle rhythm being used on them yet. They are probably still going to lose here against the Levy Free and the Galatian swords. So things are looking good for Galatia at the moment, because these pikes are not being used aggressively at all. They're just being used to screen away units. Levy Free being pulled out here, so they're losing a few men, giving the Thorax Hoplites a bit more breathing room, but the Galatian swords should have enough men available. Just as the pikes turn around, they get hit by the noble horse. And at this point the noble horse can be used recklessly because the general is dead, so... but the inspiring effect from this unit could be very important, but it might be able to break the pikes as well. But here you can see the Thorax Hoplites are holding and they are killing. Might get a morale breakage there on the Galatian swords. Yeah, looks like it. But still, there is this noble horse, there are these slingers. There is Galatian legionary, very, very close. Thorax Hoplites, 20 something men remaining. Now they're getting charged and starting to waver. Losing slightly. Oh, they got smashed. Yeah, it's over for Syracuse at this point. But I have to say, this was a valiant effort by Syracuse. How is this game not over? 3 minutes remaining on the clock. Will these units spend 3 minutes killing a single Thoreos spear? That would be... Yeah, they're going into square formation. Of course they are. So, yeah, there we go. They are fresh, exhausted Galatian legionaries. Very tired, very tired. These units should probably have rested. But let's see how it plays out, because... Thoreos 60 morale now. Even combat, they're not losing yet. But they're not really going to be killing that much. This is a very, very interesting end to the battle. I mean, if Syracuse, by some crazy stroke of fortune, manages to win this, then... Because we have the Galatian swords are in red morale. The Levy Freemen are in red morale. The Galatian legionaries are in... they are steady, but they're exhausted. The noble horse is losing men. If a Thoreo Spear is the MVP of the battle and manages to hold out here in square, this was the perfect time to use the square. Increasing morale, increasing defense, staying fresh. It's losing now though, losing slightly, but it might break the Celtic Slingers. Levy Freeman might break. The Galatian Swords broke. Wow. And the Galatian Legionaries, I mean, not resting the units at this point was an odd choice by Galatia. Maybe overconfident. If that costs the Galatia the game, it would be nothing short of amazing, seeing Syracuse defeat Galatia, and in this way. Celtic Slingers rushing in with their massive charge bonus of 3. But they are fresh, so they are not going to be... they're going to be somewhat effective at least. Should be able to get some kills here. But, I mean, the Thoreos are still confident. And none of the Galatian units are confident. Now they're starting to waver, yeah. And when they lose enough men, they won't be able to form up into square, and costly victory there for Galatia. I have to say, okay, aside from the 200 kills of the Levy Freeman, that is MLG, 200 kills here, 200 kills here. This Syracusan army has a lot of room for improvement in terms of army composition. But, wow, that almost turned out to be one of the greatest games ever. A bit weird of a game, I have to say, but good game to Granitor and Aceror. And just to illustrate what I mean by the Syracusan army having room for improvement, under the rules of the Use It, Lose It tournament, let's see here. Yeah, under the rules, I don't see any reason to not bring 4 Thorax Hoplites. That's the first. I don't see any reason to not bring 2 Mercenary Veteran Hoplites. And in terms of cavalry, Mercenary Italian cavalry, that's sort of a given. It's the only decent cavalry options you have. So, in terms of infantry, now you have 6 infantry units. You have max 14 infantry limitation. Personally, I wouldn't bring pikes. I know some people can make pikes work. It just, for me, they are not for me. So, Mercenary Etruscan Hoplites instead of Thorax Swords, maybe. 3 Mercenary Etruscan Hoplites, Mercenary Samnites. So now we have, let's see, 12 infantry units, 4 melee, so bring in 2 Thorax Swords. Now we have 14 infantry. I think I would try something like this, probably, because if you match up the units, then you're going to be able to use the Thorax Swords together with Italian cavalry. Thorax Swords throw precursors on enemy cavalry. You know there aren't going to be that many Cappadocian cav, so these guys try to screen away the Cappadocian cav. The Mercenary Samnites will preferably be matched up against the Galatian Swords. They will defeat them. The Mercenary Etruscan Hoplites and the Mercenary Veteran Hoplites will be matched up against Galatian Legionaries, and in Phalanx they will damage them quite a bit. They will hold for a long time, and that leaves you with a few free units of Thorax Hoplites to go where they are needed. Now in Phalanx they will actually have 35 weapon damage and in essence 13 armor piercing. So as long as you're able to, and the same goes for the Mercenary Veteran Hoplites. So basically all of these units are there for absorbing the impact, and all of these units are there for just killing shit in extended melee in Phalanx. There are other army options for Syracuse, but I think this is a very strong Syracusan army under the Use It, Lose It tournament rules. Strength and Honor.